on the 20th of January 2023, after many years of ill health, Ngaire Trevena took her last breath. With Janice by her side and the sun shining on her face. With a huge sense of sadness, but with great relief that Ngaire is now at peace, we come together today, her family and friends, to celebrate her 75 years. She lived as a loving, patient and resilient woman who was adored by everyone who knew and loved her. On behalf of Max, Malcolm and Janice, I welcome and thank you for joining them today here in the Manukau Memorial Gardens Chapel. And also to everyone joining us by live stream with a special heartfelt welcome. To Malcolm's family in Coquitlam, Megan, Nathan, Riley and Aaliyah. Ngaire's friends Faye in Melbourne and Leslie and Rosalie in Auckland. Her niece Christine in Mildura, Max's cousin Mel in New South Wales, cousins Raywin, Don, Vicky, Rose, Gretchen and Carl, and Angie, a family friend here in Auckland. When circumstances and geography mean we can't be in the same room, it's great that you can still be here with us today. Well, I am Suzanne Toffilau, and it is my absolute honour to be the celebrant today, and happy that you could all make it after last night's weather bomb, that you're all safe and sound, and I hope all of your whānau are too. Can I please ask that all phones are switched off or on silent? And in an event of an emergency, please leave the chapel calmly through the nearest marked exit, and we meet in the car park. To honour the much-loved wife of Max, or as he calls her, Mrs. T, loving mum of Malcolm and Megan, Janice, and Sophie the tortoiseshell cat, and cherished nana of Michael and Ashley, Cameron and Ashley, Stephen, sorry Stephanie, sorry Stephanie, most definitely Stephanie, a very beautiful Stephen, Stephanie, Nathan, Riley and Aaliyah. And great nana to Robin. We will hear Ngaire's life story, a couple of personal tributes before I open the floor for anyone here to share their memories. And then we'll take a time of reflection to watch a visual tribute of her and her loved ones. Before I invite Malcolm and Janice up to share their mum's life story, I'd like to read a poem called Gone From Us, author unknown, to celebrate Ngaire, the woman you all adored. Gone from us that smiling face, the cheerful, pleasant ways, the heart that won so many friends in bygone happy days, a life made beautiful by kindly deeds, a helping hand for others' needs. To a beautiful life comes a happy end. She died as she lived, everybody's friend. Malcolm and Janice, you can please come forward.
What's that? It's up to you. Well, thanks everyone for coming. It's my honour and privilege to share some of our memories of my mother, a bit of a life story and a biography, I guess. She was born in Tamaranui, and let's just say her mother was not the best, and her stepfather, was among the worst. But try as they might, they never managed to break your spirit. I think all too often we see people growing up in dysfunctional homes to go on and create their own dysfunctional home, but Wonder Woman would have none of that. So they failed to break your spirit, and remember one story you told me how you tried to run away effectively, and so you packed up all your clothes and you put it in a suitcase and took off. Unfortunately, technically it wasn't her suitcase, so her mother sent the police after her to get back the stolen suitcase. But she did get away. Ended up in an orphanage of all places for a while as well. But your mother did one thing right by you, and that was to bring your brother Lou into the world, who I know you are very, very close to. And in fact, I know you are looking forward to seeing him. During Lou's last 6 months or so of life, my mother actually visited him in Christchurch and kind of took him through the late stages of his cancer diagnosis. And I know those were very precious memories of her. Uncle Lou was, of course, a character. I have very, very many pleasant memories of me growing up with him. I'd like to think, Mum, that I was a good kid for the most part, didn't cause you too many headaches. But one time, I can't even remember why, I managed to get grounded for the weekend, my one and only time. But my Uncle Lou, he came to the rescue. He said, I have tickets for the All Blacks versus Australia in Eden Park, and you're coming with me. So the only grounding I got out of was saved by Uncle Lou. And I have a distinct memory of Richard Lowe smashing some guy's nose for having the audacity to score against the All Blacks. Good memories. Now, I too, I think, had a fairly rough start as a child. I was born prematurely. Both of my lungs probably collapsed. I was a very, very sick little boy. I remember eating some red candy and thought I was coughing up red candy, but of course it was blood. And I remember you telling the story of one day I was running around with Janice and some other kids, and I collapsed in the gutter, blue in the face, obviously not breathing properly. But you came, as you always did, and saved me, and I guess gave me life for a second time. Though I do have one major bone to pick with you. When I was younger, so much I don't remember this incident, but I believe I was at a next door neighbour's house. And if you look at my fingernails, they're actually slightly different sizes, and that's because I got my top of my finger chopped off in the neighbour's deck chair. And so Mum, Wonder Woman, said, oh, Ngaire, you got to be calm, you got to take your time, just get him to the hospital, be calm. So she carefully backed out the driveway, headed to the hospital and said, Malcolm, you okay? Malcolm? Malcolm? She left me there on the side of the road, with no doubt bawling my eyes out with a very bloody finger. So that's the only bone I have to pick with you. Of course, you always like to have people on. You like to tell jokes and stories. And I remember when I was maybe 13, 14, visiting my friend's house, she'd drop me off and say, oh, Malcolm, you forgot your teddy bear, Mr. Nookums. Don't worry, I'll bring it back to you. You can sleep with him. And you can go, Betty, bye, is that okay? And of course, for a teenager, that's just instant death of embarrassment. But I did manage to get my revenge, as such, on my mother. When I was a bit older and in a mall, I used to hold her hand and pull her close and almost pretending to be a toy boy, and she was absolutely deathly embarrassed by that. So I got my own back in the end. Our house was always a very welcoming home. If there was a place to hang out with school friends, it was at my parents' place. She always enjoyed, she said, counting the number of bodies who were asleep on the lounge, because that way she could, know what the amount of breakfast she would need to make. It's always a loving, caring house. I went through some psychiatric trouble a few years ago, and I decided I wanted to save the world and went over to the Philippines. And a few years later, I was returning to the Philippines, and my mother came with me. That's actually a photo of her in the Philippines, right in Manila, a place called Intramuros. So she joined me over there, and I can't count the number of messages I've received from my Filipino friends in the Philippines. They call her Mama Ngaire, and I'm sure if we could if they could get here, they would get here. So they were sad to hear that Mama Ngaire couldn't quite make it. One thing I just quickly realised I mentioned today is actually Uncle Lou's birthday. So I think Nana would like the significance of this date, that it is his birthday, because we're very close. Now, as I said, while you're in the Philippines, you're loved by everybody, called you Mama Ngaire, and while you're over there, you helped out. You planted some mangroves that had been destroyed for various reasons. You sang karaoke, have good memories of that. You taught the children, ate lots of mangoes, pretty much the things you're supposed to do in the Philippines. A few years back, my dad actually came with me to Uganda to build some schools that my organisation works. We have schools in solar-powered schools both in Uganda and Nepal. My dad helped me build the one in Uganda. And I know, Mum, you really, really wanted to go to Uganda as well, but the doctors said no. But I know, and I've received numerous messages from Uganda as well, expressing their sympathies. Actually, we didn't choose this, but I actually like this photo because that bag she's wearing and the bracelet that she's wearing as well were both made by a craft group we organised in Uganda with about 100 ladies, and it's still going strong. So kind of linking two parts of my story. Now, I'm sure Janice would echo this, but our mother's love for us was unconditional. I'm sure that applies to the grandchildren and great-grandchildren. I remember at one stage we did something really, really bad. Mum said, no matter what you do, I'm always going to love you. She even took it to, even if you murdered someone, I'd still be beside you and I would still love you. That's truly remarkable. He had come to Canada for 6 months 10 years ago. I know it was 10 years ago because that's how old my son Nathan is. Hi, Nathan. And she was there for when he came into our house. He's a foster child. And this kind of speaks to your volume of your love as well. You just embrace the children in my care, Nathan, Aaliyah, and Riley, as if they were one of your own. Called them your grandkids. You love them. And I have jelly beans for Riley, Mum. The black ones and white ones taken out, just like you did, because he didn't like it. He thoroughly enjoyed being spoiled by you, which is, of course, a job a grandmother should do. Despite the rough start to your life, I feel you had a good middle to your life. Me and Janice, though I'm sure we caused headaches at some point, we had a pretty good growing up, thanks to Dad and my mother. So we thank you for that. And you lived your life to the fullest. You know, you enjoyed every moment. You enjoyed when people came to visit. That was your thing. You liked big people around. And I think that's something we can all learn from my mother. Despite terrible starts, we can always rise up and be a little bit better. Because each and every one of us really are extremely fortunate to be here. Not only in New Zealand, but just to be alive. Like my grandfather survived the wars. Before that, they survived plagues, famines. Before that, even they escaped saber-toothed tigers and even competing bacteria. So just the fact that we're being here is very, very fortunate. And I think the lesson we can learn from my mother is don't waste this life. Live it to your fullest. And there's a quote I like by a philosopher called Daniel Dennett. It says that the key to living a meaningful life is to find something more important than yourself and dedicate your life to it. Find something more important than your life and dedicate yourself to it. And I think that's where Mama found joy, is dedicating her life to us. She would have given up her leg. Leg is a bad example, but she would have given up anything for us. So I think we take that lesson from my mother, just to live the life fullest, even though there's a very finite chance here, like Mum's gone, and that's sad, but still lessons to be learned from here. Now, just one last thing I'll say, Mum, before I hand it over to my sister. my wife Megan, my children Nathan, Aaliyah and Riley. They all really, really wanted to be here, but circumstances conspired against us, but they all really, really wanted to be here, so not sure where the camera is, but Megan, Nathan, Aaliyah, Riley, I love you so much, and I'll pass on your love to Mum.
I'm not going to do as good a job as that. I don't have good memory like my brother. So I'm just going to read mine from here. Okay, so hello to everyone who is here today, including those that are live streaming. My name's Janice, I'm Ngaire's daughter. Most of you probably know that. Yeah, so first of all, I'd just like to thank each and every one of you that are here today to honour and celebrate my mother's life. It truly means a lot to my family and I, so thank you for being here. Okay, mine's quite long, but bear with me. Right, as some of you may know, my mama had a horrific childhood, and the later parts of her life weren't that great either. However, the greater portions of mama's life saw her living it to the fullest, with a phenomenal amount of fun, adventure, happiness and family time. So let's celebrate and predominantly remember these today. Along came my father Max, who would eventually take her hand in marriage. I can see why Mama was attracted to Dad. He was, and I stress was, a very handsome looking bloke. Next came me and then my brother. Without a shed of doubt, Mama loved my brother and I. She gave every inch of her life towards making ours the best that she could, and she did a mighty fine job of it. Amen. Nothing stopped my mother from being the best mother she could in the best way she knew how. Mama was always there for my brother and I, an open shoulder that had continuous availability, except when Coronation Street was on, of course. Towards the end, Mama understandably became a bit distant, with limited energy to do much else other than exist. However, she is someone who I will always remember as having exceptional ears for listening. Mama's feedback and support would flow from a heart of empathy, a strength of wisdom and an unconditional love that will forever be remembered. As a family growing up, we would often go away on many adventurous holidays as kids, all over New Zealand. In particular, I remember how Mama hated camping, but she still endured it with us. That's just the person she was. Most of the stuff we would pack would be her blinking, I won't swear word it, her blinking endless amounts of luxury bedding, and the mission to pack it all in the van was something I'll never forget. She got a lot of slack for it, but it was always in good humour, and she always owned it and took it well. Mama was indeed an exceptional cook, and I was fortunate enough to have her take the time to teach me her cooking tips and tricks, and I still use many of them today. My mother was a microwave whiz. She would facilitate cooking classes for Fisher and Paykel when the good old microwave was first invented. I was her assistant. As a family, we would have special dinner at the dinner table on a Saturday night, each taking a turn to choose what we wanted Mama to cook. And then on the fifth week, we would all go out to a restaurant. Saturday night was called lolly night. We weren't allowed lollies during the week, but we got to indulge in them on Saturdays. Our neighbours knew this, so it was never surprising to have to share our lollies. Sometimes Mama would give the neighbours money so that they could go down to the shops and get their own. Saturday nights was a big family thing in our family, and Mama was always very passionate about making this night a family bonding night. Mama was a great entertainer who welcomed anybody into her home. She was most certainly a bit of a rescuer, as she always took people under her wing and nurtured them. We had a swimming pool, so not surprisingly, we often had the neighbours over for a swim. My brother and I never really knew what it was like to go without it as kids. However, Mama wanted us to experience a little bit of what that is like, so we could learn that you don't always get everything that we want. My mother had two ways in which she wanted to teach us this. She was never going to get us a trampoline, and she was never going to pay for our first car. And she stuck to that. She stuck to her guns on that one. Mama was passionate about teaching us about life and appreciation, and I admire this about her so very much. Kind of almost halfway. I was a very energetic young girl. I was quite the opposite of my brother. So sports were a big part of my childhood and early teens. Mama never ever missed a weekend sports game, and although at times I did not like it, I would always hear my mother shouting and cheering me on the side, and of course embarrassing me. Go Janice, go! Yeah. Mama became a brownie leader when I joined the Brownies, and would take on the responsibilities of this role as like a duck to water. However, that Mum went into leadership with the Brownies. However, apparently I got bored with the Brownies and left. But the problem was that Mama couldn't just up and leave like I did. Mama would jokingly share her resentments of me in the later years, but as always she did things in good humour by making it a joke. We would often have a laugh about this. One of the funniest things Mama used to say that will ever stick with me was that she was sure she put the tail on the wrong end, meaning I should have been a boy. And she probably wasn't wrong there either. Another thing that Mama would often mention was how her grandmother would always say, "Don't put it down, put it away." No wonder I was such a tidy little girl, but I'm not too sure what happened to my brother there. My mother had many characteristics and by far was most certainly not a boring person. As many of you know, she loved her wine, and yes, sometimes she would indulge in a bit too much. Mummy used to say it's wine o'clock, which was always at 4 o'clock. She always put humour into her life where she could, and the beautiful thing is that she never stopped being funny, even in her last days. Yeah. Mama walked her journey of life with such humbleness. She very rarely blew up at us kids, but when she did, look out. You got an earful. She went for it. Mama was very creative and artistic. She could turn the most boring things into something spectacular. She was a great interior and exterior designer. So Dad always had something to do and something to build. Mama would forever be moving furniture around and was always in the garden. Mama would say to me, "A true gardener is never satisfied," and oh how right she was. Mama and I did a lot of ceramics together. We would travel to the ceramics studio in Hamilton every week to paint our pieces, and we used to take Michael along with us as well, which I didn't put here. Mama could knit, crochet, sew and macrame. She loved to read, and she especially loved Catherine Cookson books. She enjoyed watching TV, learning new things, especially nature shows. She adored David Attenborough, and of course, dare we not mention her favourite show again, Coronation Street. The only time we would not answer the phone, the door, the only time she would not answer the phone or the door, or even talk, was when Coronation Street was on. She made it very clear that the world stops when this TV program's on. It was her wish to have Coronation Street theme song play today. Yeah, I won't say that part. The craziest I've ever seen my mother, of which I will never forget, was when I told her I was pregnant, and that was with Michael, my first baby. I truly thought Mama was going to have a heart attack. She was beside herself with excitement, happiness and absolute joy. It's almost undesirable how elated she was. Out came those knitting needles and away she went. She knitted every design and every colour, and she continued to do this for every one of her grandchildren. Mama was a very active nanny in her grandchildren's life. She adored them all. Never once did Mama say no to babysitting. She was there for every single birthday party and always had a Christmas tree up with specially painted ceramic Christmas ornaments, each with her grandchildren's name on, and each Christmas she would make her grandchildren put their own little ornament up on the tree with their name on. Another fond memory was the monarch plants that Mama would grow for her kids. She was so great at teaching them about the life cycle of the caterpillar. It was a beautiful thing to witness. Later on in life, she discovered scrapbooking. This became a great passion of hers, where she has documented her whole life and also made memories of us to keep and cherish as well. And I've got them at home now, and I have 2 piles about that high of scrapbooking. Yeah, nearly needed a truck to get them home. Mama loved to tell stories, and scrapbooking was one of the ways that she could express this. She had a phenomenal long-term memory, and I always knew that if I needed to recall something, Mama would always remember, even the very fine details. I have a phenomenal amount of memories of my mother, 52 years worth, but clearly I can't speak to them all today. Yeah, but I think I'm doing a good job. I'm nearly finished, so please bear with me. Last page. As most of you will know, Mama struggled with her health for many of her later years. In the later part of her life, she had been in and out of hospital countless amounts of time, and there was many times where we thought we were going to lose her, yet she always seemed to pull through and beat the odds. Some days I would feel like I was a broken record because I had said, I don't think Mama's got very long, that many times. So had the doctors, my family and my friends. But by sheer strength and determination, Mama proved us wrong every single time. And I would tell Mama that she's not a cat with 9 lives. She's a bloody cougar. So Cougar Nanny became a random nickname that I would call her. One time around 11 years ago, I'm going a bit backwards for some reason, it's not quite in the right order. One time around 12 years ago, I remember vividly when Mama was in hospital for quite some time, where the doctors and surgeons were trying to save her leg. After 8 surgeries, the inevitable happened and off came Mama's leg. Around a year later, with countless prosthetic adjustments, appointments and physiotherapy, here's my Mama climbing up and back down Mangere Mountain with a prosthetic leg. That was just my mother, very determined with an endless amount of courage. Not so long ago, Mama even came out of hospital. She even came out of hospital to be present for Cameron and Ashley's wedding. I mean, who does that? You know, my mum. My mother was there for my first breath, and I was there for her last. What a great privilege this was, one that I will never forget. I will have eternal gratefulness that she had a beautiful, very peaceful passing. I'm saddened that Mama is not with us anymore, but I'm happy that she is finally at peace and no longer knows pain and suffering. And here are some words I found a few days ago that Mama wrote in one of her scrapbooks that I was having a quick look through to get some photos. So my mum wrote this: Mother and daughter, it's a special bond that spans the years through laughter, worry, smiles and tears. A sense of trust that can't be broken, a depth of love, sometimes unspoken. A lifelong friendship built on sharing hugs and kisses, warmth and caring. Mother and daughter, their hearts as one. I think that can never be broken or undone. Okay, so Mama, we love you so much. You will be dearly missed by all of us. May you rest in the arms of Jesus with his incomprehensible love. Your resting place has been prepared by the hands of God, your Father of fathers, your King of kings and your Lord of lords. Until one day we meet again. I love you, Mama. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you both for sharing so beautifully the story of Ngaire's life and capturing the essence of this lovely lady. It is now my pleasure to invite Max up to share his personal tribute.
Hello everybody. Ngaire got off to a bit of a bumpy start in her early years with her stepfather and her mother, but she pulled through. Ngaire was a good talker. I used to allocate her a number of words. I say you can have 2,000 words today, but she always went to 4,000. Yeah. I first met Ngaire at the TV, the black and white TV factory in Otahu, and she brought me my wages and it all went from there. She was a very, very sick lady with her diabetes, which caused her to lose her leg. Not exaggerating, we had the ambulance come to our house in Weymouth 10 times to take her away to hospital for various things that she needed to go. But she kept bouncing back all the time. Yeah. Everybody loved Ngaire. People used to just flock to see her. And she would help. She was a very wise lady, and she would help people with their problems. And she was very good at it. She had a very peaceful passing. When you're passing like that, you can have all sorts of complications, paralysed down one side, heart valve replacements and all this carry on. But she just went down slowly and passed away. Yeah. She had all sorts of various names. I'll try and remember them all. There was W's, which was short for Wonder Woman. Mrs. T. And she was called Boss Lady by Linda. Boss Lady. And she was also called Mrs. T as well. I'm a man of not many words, so I'll let things go by now. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thanks, Max. We'll now be joined by Ashley, who will share a tribute on behalf of some of the grandchildren.
Our Nana loved life. She loved her family, she loved her friends, and most of all, she loved her cat, Sophie. No matter the situation she was presented with, no matter how challenging, she was able to overcome it. She was one tough and determined lady. Firstly, on behalf of the grandchildren and great-grandchild, I would like to thank everybody for being here today and for the support over the past couple of years. Specifically, we would like to thank Mum, Uncle Malcolm, Papa and Linda for all the love and support they have given all of us, and especially towards Nana. As a lot of us would know, Nana's arms were always sore. She would rub her arms and complain of pain. This was her secret code for wanting a hug. If we didn't notice this code, we would be given the look, and we knew we were in trouble. I will always remember the first time I met Nana. I walked into the room, and the first thing she said to me was, "Can I check behind your ears?" I was very confused by this. I hesitantly bent down so she could check. She smiled and said that I was okay to date her grandson, Cameron. I later found out that she wanted to check behind my ears to make sure I was clean, and if I was able to take care of myself, I therefore could take care of Cameron. This immediately showed her sense of humour and that family was everything to her. Nana had lots of stories to tell. Some were new, but over the years she told these many times. Maybe this was because she liked the sound of her own voice. Nana always had a bit of a bone to pick with Stephanie, as she was born at 7:30 in the evening on a weekday, and this is when her beloved Coronation Street was on. It seems to be a bit of a running theme today. She was never able to watch this episode as she had no way of recording it back then, but we don't think she's missed an episode of that since. Some people live leave a long-lasting impact on our lives. They leave, but their memories stay with us forever. Nana, we will miss you every day, and we will always be left wanting one more hug. We love you lots.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. I'll now open the floor. If there's anyone that would like to come up and share any memories, please feel free to do so. You know what? I'll start it off because I have a memory to share on behalf of somebody. This is on behalf of Angie McConney, who is watching us on livestream. I remember Mum went out and got a babysitter for me. I was about 6 or 7 years old. She was meant to look after me, not go to sleep. I think I was asleep, but I don't really remember. I didn't know what to do, so I opened the front door and ran to Ngaire's house, 2 doors down from ours. Ngaire said, "What's happened?" I said, "My babysitter is asleep." She said, "Don't worry." She said, "Just jump into bed with us, with Max and Ngaire." I think Ngaire went back to our house and left Mum a note, letting Mum know I was safe. I will certainly miss you, Ngaire. She called me her adopted daughter. Love you, Ngaire. Kiss, kiss, kiss. Thanks, Angie. Anybody else like to come forward?
My name is Dawn, and Ngaire and I developed a bit of a later friendship in life, but man, was it intense. It was so intense. And, pardon the snort, I miss her so badly. I used to be in contact with her twice a day because I'm one of those that does a morning greeting and a good night greeting. And there were times that I would be able to give her a quick call during the week. We'd have a chat, we'd have a laugh. But our best times would be on a Saturday morning. And I would excuse myself. That was before my stroke. I would excuse myself from the family, and I would go and give Ngaire a call. And we would sit and natter and chatter, sometimes for 2 to 3 hours. And I am missing that so badly. But I console myself with the fact that I know she was a lady of God. She was a child of God. And I know that she is at utmost rest. And she is safely tucked in the arms of Jesus. And she will know how I miss her. And I've been friends with Janice, the daughter, for many, many years. And that friendship is one that will not die, as my friendship with Ngaire will never die. And Janice, I love you. And so it's with a very sore heart that I bid Ngaire farewell. Rest in peace, my dear friend. Thank you.
My name's Evie Wordsworth, and Max is my first cousin. His dad and my dad were brothers. And as you know, Max, my brother Mel and my sister Robin are unable to be here today. Robin was coming down from Whangarei, but the roads are closed due to the flooding. She was coming, there's been a massive slip, so she's so sorry she's not able to be here. But Mel's been in constant contact with you, and we'll be looking forward to seeing this online. So Janice, I love to listen to your life story, and your mum is such a positive person. We, in early years, were living in the UK, and my parents in the UK, and when they came back from England, we got to know Ngaire really well, and Mum had a gift with her art, and so Mum and Ngaire were the best of mates, and they did the ceramics together, and Ngaire kept such a beautiful home. She was just a wonderful person, and I know she's going to be sorely missed. But Max and Ngaire were a perfect team, because Max was such a shy boy, an only child, weren't you, Max? And so, yes, he was quite laid back and shy, so she did all the talking, but such a positive and happy person, and made everybody feel that same way.
And thank you, Dawn, for getting up and sharing your love for your friend. Right, so many fabulous memories we've heard today, and all of those we will hold close to our hearts. And these are what will get us through the times of grief that are ahead of us. We'll now take a time of reflection and watch a visual tribute of Ngaire's life.
When troubles come and my heart burdened be, then I am still and wait here in the silence until you and sit a while with me. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. When I am on your shoulders, you raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. Raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up to more than I can be.
You can tell the world you never was my girl. You can burn my clothes when I'm gone. Oh, you can tell your friends just what a fool I've been and laugh and joke about me on the phone. You can tell my arms go back into the farm. You can tell my feet to hit the floor. Or you can tell my lips to tell my fingertips they won't be reaching out for you no more. Don't tell my heart, my achy, breaky heart, I just don't think he'd understand. And if you tell my heart, my achy, breaky heart, he might blow up and kill this man. You can tell your mom I moved to Arkansas. You can tell your dog to bite my leg. Or tell your brother Cliff, whose fist can tell my lip, he never really liked me anyway. Or tell your Aunt Louise, tell anything you please, myself already knows I'm not okay. Or you can tell my eyes to watch watch out for my mind. It might be walking out on me today. But don't tell my heart, my achy, breaky heart, I just don't think it understand. And if you tell my heart, my achy, breaky heart, he might blow up and kill this man. Don't tell my heart, my achy, breaky heart, I just don't think he'd understand. And if you tell my heart, my achy, breaky heart, he might blow up and kill his man. Don't tell my heart, my achy, breaky heart, I just don't think he'd understand. And if you tell my heart, my achy, breaky heart, he mightn't blow up and kill this man.
As we near the close of today's celebration, I'd like to thank you all for your kind words, love and support that you've given so willingly to the family. At a time of sadness and loss, it brings great comfort to them all. After I've said the final farewell, Ngaire will be taken out to the hearse where you can say your goodbyes for now and place petals on her coffin before she is taken for cremation. The family extend a warm invitation to join them across at the Bob White Lounge for a cuppa, some light refreshments and a further time to share memories. As you've heard, Ngaire believed in God and took comfort in knowing that one day she would be in heaven with him and all of her loved ones gone before her. It wasn't something she shared with everyone, but she was very definite when talking to Max that she was delighted that one day she would be reunited with her brother Lou, who she absolutely adored. In respect of Ngaire's beliefs, we will now be joined by Marlene, who will read a few wonderful pieces of scripture. Marlene.
I'll read a few words of promise and comfort from the Bible. Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I'm gentle and I'm humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. They were words that Jesus spoke, and further words he spoke are, do not let your hearts be troubled. Trust in God. Trust also in me. In my Father's house are many rooms. If it were not so, I would have told you. I'm going there to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come back and take you to be with me, that you also may be where I am. And then the last words are found in Revelation. And here, these were the words that John wrote when he was in Patmos, and this was the vision he was given. And they are indeed words of comfort for us, for Ngaire. And this is what John wrote. And I heard a loud voice from the throne, saying, "Now the dwelling of God is with men, and he will live with them. They will be his people, and God himself will be with them and be their God. He will wipe every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death, or mourning, or crying, or pain, for the old order of things has passed away." And this is the hope we have for you, Ngaire, as we commit your spirit into God's care. Thank you.
Can I please ask you to stand for the final farewell? Ngaire, you are so dearly loved. You're in our hearts and our minds, and we'll carry you with us as we move forward with our lives. Everything you have done is still done. Everyone you love is still loved. Everything we've learned from you is still learnt. And so we will let you pass from this world for which you did so much, for which you continue to do. Because when we walk this earth, we walk it with you. You leave us with the strength and pride to do what is good and right, and your memory will guide us just as you did when you were at our side. For this, we say thank you and goodbye. Dearest wife, mum, nana, great nana, and loyal friend. May you rest in peace and love, Ngaire Trevena.